Hello and welcome to Manga Tora 96, and today we're going to talk about Shaman King. This may sound weird, but the reason for me making this Shaman King video on Hao was learning that the second season of Demon Slayer will be coming out in a couple of weeks. We just triggered some bad memories that I had with that manga series. With one of the biggest problems that I had with that series being its antagonist, the wannabe Michael Jackson, also known as Muzan. So to wash away those bitter memories, I decided that the best course of action was by talking about an actual great antagonist instead, and with the Shaman King anime currently airing, the decision on which antagonist to cover was easy, as Hao is one of the best antagonists that a shonen series has to offer. In this video I will cover Hao's complex personality and his journey throughout his 3 lives. But before we start, here's the spoiler warning, as we'll be spoiling a lot of things in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would highly recommend that you go and read the manga, as it is a classic in the shonen genre. For everyone else, let's start with a brief overview on who Hao is. Asakura Hao was born as Asaha Doji in Japan during the Heian era and rose to prominence as an onmyoji. During his third life, he was reborn as the twin brother of his descendant Asakura Hao. Currently, he is the most powerful shaman in the entirety of the series and the current Shaman King. During his first life, he lived under the uncertainty of corruption and uncaring Heian nobility, which drove the country into chaos and poverty. He saw the world as a grim and dark place until he met a small demon named Ohachio, who taught him all the positive aspects of life. However, after an accident involving Hao's first oversoul, Ohachio became a permanent part of Hao and cursed him with a dangerous ability of Reishi. In his teen years, having witnessed the corruption and greed in the capital, Hao was aloof to those around him, but as he grew into an adult, he became a relatively peaceful man who sought to help the people around him, and thanks to him the Asakura family prospered. It was because of this gentle and kind nature that he took in the cat Matamune, whom he considered his only friend. However, his Reishi abilities became quite strong and eventually went beyond his control. The negative emotions and thoughts of others were constantly overwhelming him, and since he was unable to turn his Reishi off, the deluge of negativity eventually created an One inside his own heart. The eternal confusion and disorder that was created eventually led to his desire of creating the Shaman Kingdom on Earth and drove him to become the Shaman King in order to reach this main goal. In his third and most current reincarnation, Hao is usually calm, cruel and always smiles. The occasions when he is really angry is very rare, and when he is angry with someone, that person is usually killed off and burned to death down to their soul by the spirit of fire. He also likes to watch the shaman fight, particularly those that involve strong shamans and Asakura Hao. He is not only interested in that, but he also proclaims that when Hao reaches his limits, he will become one with him to become the strongest shaman. He has shown some dislikes of being given family titles, as he coldly glared at Hao when he addressed him as Nichan and asked his new Hana to stop calling him uncle, though he would later address both in the same way. Despite all his misgivings towards humanity, Hao loved his mother immensely, as it was her death that primarily caused his extreme hatred and resentment towards humanity. Hao regards money as a primary reason behind the corruption in society. He refuses to use it and has his group follow the philosophy of being completely self-sufficient, even if it means stealing something to obtain it. As for his journey throughout his first life, born in Japan by Doji Asanoha, he was named Doji Asaha by his mother, where a group of humans killed his mother because they thought she was a demon. Having his house burned down to the ground, Asaha wandered and lived aimlessly by himself, by believing himself to be a boy with strange demonic powers and thought of exterminating all humankind. One day, while sitting by a gate, he met a spirit by the name Ohachio, and they quickly became friends. Ohachio gave him the nickname Doji Mappa, After noting the similarity between Asaha's and Asunaha's names, the demon persuaded Asaha to forget his own vengeance and rather enjoy the aspects of new life. Ohachio taught him many things such as fishing, writing, and most importantly, the dangerous ability Reishi. Asaha followed his word and lived life with a smile on his face, for a moment at least. However, when a guard apparently heard him conversing with himself at night, he immediately suspected him of being a demon and reported to monk Densen Hoshi. Densen confronted Hao but proved to be a fraud and was easily overpowered by him, as he recognized the man to be the one who killed his mother and performed his first murder. By over-depleting his Furyoko, Asaha was unable to maintain control over his oversoul and unintentionally consumed Ohachio's power. Asaha would end up in the streets of Kyoto, where he was found lying unconscious by an onmyoji Hama Tadatomo and his apprentice Daitaro Hoshi. Hamo was searching out Asaha as the source of many Onis being summoned in the area. After clearing out all the Onis and seeing Asaha's potential, Tadamoto took him in as his apprentice. At the yearly ceremony for exorcising the capital of Onis, Asaha's fellow apprentice Daitaro was used as a test subject by Tadamoto, who intended to create a human Shikigami hybrid that regular humans were able to see. Asaha tried to intervene but was restricted by Tadamoto's Shikigami until Tadamoto was killed by Daitaro, making them disappear. Despite their aides claiming that they should flee, Asaha decided to surpass Tadamoto by defeating Daitaro, using the Onis with his own body to gain control over him. In the 5 years that followed, his skill had him named the Guardian of Kyoto, and inspired by his office, he was given the name Asakura Hao. With the experience of his childhood, Hao became a talented onmyoji and founder of the Asakura family in Kyoto. Due to his loneliness, he created Onis all the time, but that wasn't a problem for him because he had the ability to control Onis. During that time, Hao met Matamune, a stray cat. Hao stated that Matamune was his only friend and gave Matamune some of his spiritual energy in the hoping that Matamune would stay with him forever. Nevertheless, the curse implanted on Hao from Ohachio was permanent and eventually drove Hao completely crazy. Hao would eventually learn of the Shaman King. Because of his plans to destroy all of humanity, the Asakura family ousted him, though he remained in Kyoto where he founded a branch of the Asakura family. He was eventually killed by one of his own relatives during the Shaman fight. As for his journey throughout his second life, Hao's yin-yang jutsu, the mastery of the 5 elements, prevented his permanent death as he could now control the circumstances of his own reincarnation. He was able to gain the ability to control his soul using the ritual of Taizen Kuzon, though Taizen Kuzon could only be reached by getting past the 75 Lords of Hell, succeeding in making a contract with him, giving one the ability to resurrect the dead or reincarnated themselves at will. Hao then chose to be reincarnated as a Patch tribe member, the ones that organized the Shaman King tournament, and then he later stole the Spirit of Fire from the Patch tribe. During this time, as a Patch, he was married, had a wife and a child with his new guardian ghost. Hao conquered many great enemies with such ease, including the 4 Seminole warriors who heard his goals, deciding to stop him. He once again projected his idea of a shaman world, but was rejected by the shamans he was trying to promote. He had the same plans of ruling the world and killing all of humankind, but he was stopped by Asakura Yonken and Matamune. Despite the fact that he died before becoming Shaman King, he achieved his goal of capturing the legendary Spirit of Fire for using as his guardian ghost in his next life. His wife and child that he left behind were about to be killed, and the Patch tribe realized that they were now missing a priest. They allowed both of them to live in order to keep the line of Patch priests. As a result, several generations later, Silva of the 10 Patch officials was born from the same lineage of Hao. As for his journey throughout his third life, a lot has already been shown in the anime, so I'll skip to the parts that have yet to be covered in the anime. After the end of the second round of the Shaman fight, the Patch brought Team Hoshigumi, Team Deran, Team Funabari Onsen and Team X1 to the continent of Mu, where the third and final round will be held off. But instead of continuing the competition, the other 3 teams forfeited, thus making Hao the new Shaman King. Leap and Trap then proceeds to lead him through the plants to the King's Sanctuary, where Hao would sleep a pseudo-like death while being united with the Great Spirit. When he finally awakens, he sends a message on the Oracle Bell that reads, "So small." He then effortlessly kills everyone with a simple glance, excluding Rutfer, Opacho and Tyo. Opacho commented that the Hao she knew wasn't here anymore, and Tyo was able to deduce that Hao was controlling his body even though his spirit had already moved on as the Shaman King. Yo then stated that this Hao is nothing but a walking corpse. Hao, however, doesn't die, most likely due to being omnipotent after his merger with the Great Spirit. After he smirks, Yo's soul and Amidamaru's are seen being absorbed by Hao. When Yo wakes up, he realizes he must be inside the Great Spirit. Hao appears relieving to Yo that he is actually inside himself and in the high society of the Great Spirit, the society of the Shaman King, where only people Hao wishes to enter may come. The two start a conversation during which Yo reveals that he too dislikes humans because they really are destroying the earth. But he also admits that he could never go as far as to kill them, so Hao orders him to leave. Somehow Yo isn't banished, and Ren, Lizerg, Chocolat and Horo appear too. Then a fierce battle between the 5 elemental warriors and the Shaman King begins. The battle is so evenly matched that the fight ends in a complete stalemate until Hao reveals that the fight was merely his preparation for their defeat and creates a supernova that turns into a black hole. As the 5 are being dragged in, the Soul Train appears out of nowhere, answering the 5. On board are all the people that Hao has killed off and he became Shaman King, as well as the dead family members and friends of the 5 elemental warriors. Yo finally manages to calm down Hao by letting Opacho jump into the black hole, which Hao stops immediately because of the bond between those two. Hao realizes that his quest was not for what he has become, but for something else that he could not remember. The Asakura family says that his quest started because of his late mother. Yo finally knows that Hao is after and tells him that his late mother was always beside him as a spirit. Hao realizes that his mother could have been his guardian ghost and oversoul, but he was so blinded by his own quest that he could not see the real truth. As his mother arrives on the scene, Hao appears overjoyed to see her again, even though she slapped him for all that he had done, and embraces him in front of everyone. Afterwards, he lets everyone return to Earth, but then tells Yo that he still hates humankind, but will let them sort out their problems before he passes judgment, and not to be so impermanent. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on Hao in this video. And that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.